This episode of the Crossroads podcast is sponsored by D&H Organic Hair Care. Now, I have described to you the products. I've described to you my favorites. I've talked to you about the pH balance shampoo and the pH balance conditioner. But what I would like to highlight in this moment, very quickly, if I may, is the smell. When I first poured Donnie's pH balance shampoo upon my head, I want you to know that I heard a beautiful symphony of Anita Baker and the smell of pie baking in the oven. Like it smells like glorious R&B love. Like when you think about what R&B love is supposed to be like, that's the experience that you're having in your shower as Donnie's pH balanced conditioner is luxuriating your hair. And isn't that what you want? I know it is. And I know it's what I want for myself. So be like me. Go to Holmes Wholesale and use the code CRP10 to get yourself 10% off of your order. I like the High Shine Glossifier. I love the Renew Hair Oil, which is a bestseller, and I cannot shut the F up about the smell. Oh, delightful. Again, go to Holmes Wholesale. CRP10 is that code. Let's start the show. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Crossroads. I am your host, Rashida Green, and this is the show for and about environmental justice and those who fight the fight with skin as melanated as the days are long. Knowledge is power, and today we are celebrating this earth we live on. That's right. This is my Earth Day episode. And we have some things to discuss, but before we get there to the Earth Days and the festivities and things, we're going to give some flowers. So I am giving flowers to Yes Magazine, which in no uncertain terms helped to pull this episode together. I'm also going to give some flowers to a woman named Leah Penniman. She is an author and the co-founder of the Soul Fire Farm based in upstate New York, and we are going to be spotlighting them in this during this episode today. So I want to give them some flowers. So in alignment with Earth Day, a lot of folks I did some asking of my Patreon, as well as just in general, my network, of just what are some things that people really want to talk about for Earth Day. And of course, what came up the most was just tips, right? But when I happened to be reading Yes Magazine over the weekend, I just kind of had a different idea for like where I wanted to take this journey. So I'm actually going to center this episode around food and farming, but also different activities and opportunities that you all need or want, and tips for cutting down your own personal carbon footprint. So first, we're going to uplift the HBCU Green Fund. Please check them out on hbcugreenfund.org. They are raising funds for campus projects that help to cut energy and water use. And their goal is to raise $1 million in support of upgrades at HBCU. So again, that's HBCU Green Fund. That's a great opportunity for folks who are interested to check them out. If you are an HBCU student, look into some of the opportunities that they have available for a possible project that you could get funded. And if you are someone that has money to donate, this is another opportunity and a place to donate as well. And let's get into Soul Fire Farm. So this is based in upstate New York, as I mentioned, and this is a community farm of 80 acres. And the farm uses a combination of spiritual and sustainable practices. And in the article entitled The Gift of Ecological Humility, Leah Penniman discusses the importance of uplifting Indigenous practices and soil stewardship and cultural biomimicry. And she describes the Ifa divination as an example of ecological humility, as well as Black ecological thought, which is a real thing. And Ifa is practiced by Yoruba communities in Nigeria, as well as throughout the diaspora. And it is listed as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. As part of the practice, people must ask for permission of the forces of nature, or the orishas. And there is no one person that has a sort of like an oracle or anything like that. It's more of a system of signs interpreted by a diviner or an Ifa priest. And anytime there needs to be a major individual or community decision, this is when the system is put to work. And a diviner has to have 15 years of experience, as well as having all 256 chapters of the Udu, the sacred text, memorized, because that's the method that they use to make the decision. And this is all an oral tradition. So this is why it takes so long for the diviners to learn and become skilled practitioners. So I wanted to uplift Soulfire, as well as paying homage to an ancestral practice that most of us probably didn't know anything about. And let's move on. Let's also talk about the Heal Food Alliance. And this is a collection of 50 organizations ranging from urban farms, scientists, and rural and urban communities. And they have a mission to bring good food to the community, as well as creating sustainable food systems. And they created the Heal platform for real food. And it is a 10-point platform. And it consists of 3 overarching areas: economy, health, and environment. Okay, so I'm not going to be able to read all of these. I would like to read each one of the 10 points, but underneath, and if you go to healfoodalliance.org, you can see the roadmap. And under each one of these areas, there's at least 4 or 5 additional subtopics underneath. So the first item under economy is dignity for food workers. Number 2 is opportunity for all producers. Number 3, fair and competitive markets. And just to kind of explain that a little bit, some of the subtopics underneath this particular bullet is fair pricing and contracts, and support for diverse growers. And if you happen to be a follower of this here show, you know that I've talked to Mr. Eric Range a few times about the cannabis industry. So this is, and not just cannabis, we know is lacking diversity. We also know that farming in general and the ownership of Black farmers is also under siege as well. So this is also very important that I wanted to highlight. We also have number 4 as resilient regional communities. And I really want to emphasize regional. And I'm going to come back to why that's important. Under health, we have dump the junk. It's number 5. Increase food literacy and transparency. It's number 6. That's like what's on labels. Ending corporate influence over research. Transparency in food production. And number 7, real food in every hood. Under the environment, we have phasing out of factory farming for number 8. Number 9, promote sustainable farming, fishing, and ranching. And 10, close the loop on waste, runoff, and energy. So we have come to the crossroads. In Leah Penniman's article, she highlights Professor Wande Abimbola, who says that the earth is a divinity. Vandana Shiva, the activist and writer, explains that soil, like water and air, is a commons, meaning that it belongs to all of us. And this means that we have every right to fight to preserve it and keep it free as possible, as much as we possibly can, from pollution. So if you want an opportunity to support Black farmers, unknowing and being aware that Black farmers and other farmers of color are under siege, that land is the percentage of land owned by Black farmers and farmers of color is marginal compared to that of corporations and white farmers. So here are some things that you can do to support local farmers. First and easiest, buy their products. You can donate too. You can go to their website and donate to them. You can lend your services or share your resources. If you happen to be someone who has very good organizational skills, if you're someone who's good at social media, if you happen to be working in a law office, anything, if you have a tangible skill, understand that farmers are busy farming. So they need people who can help them do those kinds of activities. And if you have that kind of expertise, you can offer that as a service. Even if you own a company, or if you happen to be someone that owns like a staffing firm, you could help lend your services in that way, helping to source and find adequate help. Always ways to lend your services. And this is a direct message, and I want to be clear, this came directly from Soulfire Farms website about what people can do. And I specifically want to make this point to the white people. I haven't talked to y'all in a little while, but today, a little spotlight on your butt cheeks. So what Leah and them had to say, and I very much so agree, is that y'all should focus on organizing yourselves. Yeah, you should worry about doing that and stop worrying about organizing people of color. We know how to organize. I don't know if you heard, I literally just called out a 256 chapter document that helps people figure out how to solve their problems. So we don't need you to help organize us. Okay, that's it. That's all I want to say. Organize yourselves. Educate yourselves. Stop trying to come to us and ask us if we've read The New Jim Crow. Of course we have. Of course we have. Did you read it? Is the point. Okay. We're living it. Okay, cool. Moving on. What everyone can do is uplift, like I just expounded upon. You can uplift and learn about ancestral and current Black and brown expertise, but uplift it. And I would say to get a little bit more granular about that, I would say that we need to stop seeing names of people who we know are not white or Western and writing them off. If the person has a doctor in front of their name and it's not, I'm going to say something stupid, so I'm going to stop myself. We have to be able to recognize and uplift our voices, because these are the voices that come from our source, and we need to be worrying about uplifting that as opposed to something else. Also, if you are in the place to create jobs, create good jobs, and hire folks who normally would not be open or would be disenfranchised from the job market. Now, that's farms. So what are some ways that we can reduce our carbon footprint? Because I know everybody wants to know, well, what are we supposed to do? What can I do? And normally what I say is, this is a collective problem, and this is something that we have to be fighting back against corporations, blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't mean that there aren't things that individuals can do. So in honor of Earth Day, and just some general tips about things that you can do if you want to observe Earth Day the way we used to do back in the day, you can turn off and unplug your electronic devices. Turn them off. Turn them off. You can turn off lights in rooms that you're not in. Easy peasy, right? You can, for 1 hour, you and your family can turn the lights off. Make it fun. Get like some blankets and make like a blanket fort with like flashlights or whatever. Lean into it. And it's only for an hour. You guys could just tell spooky stories for an hour. Okay, so turn the lights off. Next, and this goes back to the point about supporting local farmers, shop locally. On one of the 10 points for the Heal Food Alliance, one of the things they said was regional resilient communities, right? So let's get into that a little bit deeper. That means this idea of going to a grocery store where everything in there is not sourced in a close proximity to that facility nor to your home. And if you can, you should do the best that you can to shop as close to your home as humanly possible. You can go to the farmer's market. Most farmers markets take EBT. They take several different forms of payment, and I know a couple, or at least one particular farmer's market that will let you convert. If you give them so much money, they will give you coupons or coins that you can use at vendors in the market. So that's an easy way to not only support local farmers, but also this helps to cut out and reduce the amount of general pollution that it takes to transport food. Next, cut out the meat. Just going to say it straight like that. I try not to tell people what to do because I know people get a little sensitive when you start telling them you can't have no spicy chicken sandwich. But all I'm saying is take the meat out or reduce it out of your diet. I'm not going to get into all the details and freak y'all out or make y'all feel some type of way about the ills of meat, but understand that it takes a lot of energy as far as the overall maintenance of the factory that these chickens and things are housed in, if that's what you even want to call it, and the amount to take care of their waste, which mostly just rises up into the atmosphere. It's a large amount of consumption and energy consumption going on to keep these places up and running. And so you as an individual in your family, having a meatless Monday is a great way to reduce your carbon footprint. Just consume less meat. You can also try thrifting for your clothing or for your home needs. It's a great way to use the other R's instead of recycle. It's reducing your consumption and reusing what's already there and available. And, plenty of sites like ThredUp or apps like ThredUp have capitalized on this. And there's always attending your local thrift store. There's one that's not too far from me and they have a pretty sizable selection. Next, try carpooling. Try if you can. I know not everybody is back at work 100%, but if you can, maybe, and you live in a certain proximity to other coworkers of yours, consider doing a ride share. That's definitely a way to cut down on single occupancy drivers or single occupancy driving by ride sharing. Also, I would recommend doing your own deep dive of the Heal Alliance's food plan. It's an easy way to get familiar, to start thinking about these things and see how you can apply some of what's being said into your own life or the lives of your community members. And next, and I got to get real close to the microphone when I say this, stop using plastic bottles, particularly plastic water bottles. It's a single-use plastic. Just go to the store. You can go to Ross, TJ Maxx, and get 2 water bottles. Keep one in your car. Keep the other one or you can keep one in your purse. Keep it in your briefcase if that's what you do. Keep water bottles with you. Every single piece of plastic that you've ever purchased in your life is still around. Plastic does not biodegrade, not readily. It doesn't really biodegrade. It just breaks into smaller pieces, which is what microplastics are. So every single piece of plastic you've ever put your hands on is still here somewhere and might be inside of you. There's also that. So we have enough plastic. You've seen the videos of people pulling straws out the noses of turtles. Cut out the single-use plastics. For folks who live in the Maryland area, you can check out Fulfillery. They have, not only is it a refilling station where you can refill your home good needs and your personal care needs, but you can also get metal straws, vegan dental floss. Like you can get the supplies and things that you need. Consider doing that. Also, and I talked about filling stations on this show before too, but try to see if you have a filling station somewhere close to you, or if there is one that may be willing to ship. Just check it out. Check it out. And for those of you with the fighting spirit, children of my heart, here is what I would recommend. Really put the pressure. But first, do your research. See if your city or your county has legislation for community choice aggregation as an alternative to power utilities. See if that's available. I mentioned in the energy episode that it takes time in order to get that legislation through. This process takes time, but it starts with getting the legislation in place so that it can even be feasible in your city or your county. Next, demand that all PFAS be banned from use in anything, not just firefighting foam, not just wraps or food packaging, everything. Demand that there be a line item added into the local budget or included in the trash removal budget that includes composting services. For those who maybe don't want to fight, again, you can always donate and lend your expertise to community and grassroots organizations who are fighting for causes that you believe in. And if you don't really like to fight, you should still at least vote, especially in your local elections. Listen to what these folks are running on. Do they have any sort of environmental justice or climate action points in their plans? If not, then that's not a person that maybe you should have your vote. And lastly, again, I have to stress, use this Earth Day as an opportunity to do your research. Look into the Ifa divination. Look at the practices of the Dogon people of Mali. The reason that I wanted to have this discussion for this episode is really to highlight the fact that we as Black folks have agriculture in our blood, not beginning with slavery. And we have been disconnected and taught to ignore what makes us great, which is really our rich history. So, of all the things that I have recommended, especially for my Black and brown folks, I hope you found something in this that you can use as you celebrate Earth Day. I know that some people think that Earth Day just seems to be very meh, or not very engaging anymore, not very exciting anymore. And for that, I would just say, I think because we may have to change the look and feel of it. I think we may have to just start appealing more to the folks that are on the ground doing the work with their hands in the dirt. I don't know. We're not all long-haired hippies from the 70s. We got to think about a new look and feel. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. So moving on to the latest and the greatest segment that I've dubbed a quick word. So for this quick word, I actually, believe it or not, was watching an episode of Ayanla. I like Ayanla. I saw her in the airport after Essence Fest, and I was like, hey girl, I didn't say anything to her. It was late and she looked over it, and I was tired as well. So I didn't say anything to her, but she just looks like, I don't know, just very auntie vibes. Anyway, so on one of her episodes, she used a quote from Maya Angelou, and she said, courage is doing what you know needs to be done before you're forced to do so. Courage is doing what you know needs to be done before you are forced to do so. And I actually want to tie that back in to Earth Day. We know the pressure that we're under. We know that with the rate things are going, and we are entering into some very uncertain times. The vaccine is going, or vaccinations are in progress. We've got, we already have the start of there's a tropical storm going on. And hurricane season hasn't quite started yet, but tropical storms, tropical depressions, that's how hurricanes begin to form. But we know what we're up against with climate change. We know that we are already seeing and experiencing it. So we know it's real. And so what I would ask is that we have the courage to do what we must, to give up the things that we need to give up before we are told to do so. Black folk have a little bit of a hard time accepting things and just want to be talking about, well, nobody's going to make me stop eating ham hocks. I'm here for a good time, not a long time. And, I'm not here to judge you. And this word is not for judgment. This word is just to say, have the courage before you don't have a choice. That's it. And that's all. Thank you all for joining me. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, Crossroads Podcast, Crossroads Pod C1 on Twitter and Facebook, on the TikTok, Crossroads Podcast, and on my Patreon, Crossroads Podcast, and as always on my website, allroadscross.com. Thank you, and I will see you at the crossroads.